Hello, everyone. You're watching the fourth episode of Transatlantic Crypto Podcast. My name is Eugene, CryptoEmcee, and please welcome my co-host, Mr. R.L. Bryer, the renowned author of the blockchain project Renaissance. He is broadcasting from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, United States, and I am broadcasting from Europe, Belarus. So it's great to have you again, my friend. And let's start with the question of Corona. Is coronavirus been affecting the United States? What's going on there?
Yeah, we had a couple week lag from China, and then, it started showing up here. My area hasn't been too crazy affected yet, but now we're seeing, production. A lot of manufacturing and businesses are closing, and they're, doing the, work from home deal. The self-quarantine or whatever that everybody's talking about now. So it isn't good, but one thing, I think I may have had this virus earlier in the year. I'm not sure whether it was the exact strand or not, but I sort of think that, the media might be blowing this overboard a little bit, since I don't want to underplay the severity of it or anything, but I did a little math before we got on here today, and around 45,000 people each year die from just the seasonal flu in the United States.
45
and right now,
people die from
45
flu.
Right.
A usual, how to say disease, usual disease. And
Yeah,
everybody
yeah.
pays attention to that. 45,000 per year.
Exactly. And then I did a little math, and right now we just had our 200th case or 200 death here in the U.S. So that's less than that's 0.4%. So not even 1% of the seasonal flu. So we're ruining our economy right now for less than 1%.
Let's compare again.
Yeah.
45,000 people die every year in the United States from seasonal flu. And
Right.
less than 1% of 45, less than how many? 200?
4/10 of 1%.
4/10
of 1%.
of 1%.
So not even 1%, not even half of a percentage point. Yeah. So it just seems like everyone's really taking this a little. I mean, it is good that people are taking it serious because you don't want it to spread. It does seem like it spreads maybe faster than the flu, but at the same time, I don't know if it's as deadly. So it just seems, I think there could be a lot more harm done from shutting down the economy. I mean, a lot of people can die that way too. So it's just, it's scary that, all of these precautions and authoritarian measures are being taken, in my opinion.
Well, I have to ask you, who benefits or is benefiting or have been benefiting recent 3 months from the coronavirus quarantine? Perhaps it seems to me that governments, they have already benefited from 3 months of coronavirus, and they will have benefited during the another part of 2020, because they always use the this kind of situations, such as conflicts and different cataclysms, for, how to say, I don't know how to say in English, but for more pressure,
Right.
pressure, for keeping the bottle more. That's their kind of modus operandi. I agree with me.
100% agree with you. There's a saying, I think it was Rahm Emanuel, who was the mayor of Chicago, that said, never let a good crisis go to waste. And I'm pretty sure that was his quote. And that is sort of the government around the world. That's like the governmental, slogan, never let a good crisis go to waste. They're going to take that crisis and expand their power and, grow their tentacles, a little further into freedom. In my opinion, they're going to take a little bit of freedom at a time, and then you never get that freedom back. As you can look at history, that's how the United States lost a lot of its freedoms, is during wars specifically. But this is being treated more like a war. This is more like a wartime thing, where in the First World War we lost. I think that's when we got like the estate tax and things like that. The Second World War is, I think is when the income tax, came along to be, it was only 3% of Americans, and then everybody, had income, and then they never repeal this stuff. So it's just, you have to make sure that you don't just give up your liberties. And, this isn't just an exercise to, for future measures to be taken against us. So while I do take, these things seriously, I don't want to underplay it. If anybody's lost a family member or somebody's sick, you just have to make sure that this is, not being overblown by the state media.
Well, I'm observing of your activity. You have launched a whole bunch of podcasts with different podcasters all over the world. Is it true? Is it your media strategy? I even can count your different podcasts with that in your Instagram.
Yeah, I've been
collaboration with podcasting, right?
Yeah, my various and numerous podcasts. I've been hitting quite a few different regions of the world so far. Yesterday was an American, but I've had a Romanian on recently, and I've been hitting all over the world lately. So it's good to get other people's opinions, and that's why I love doing this show with you so much, just because I get to hear what you have to say. You always have great insights, and so I've been staying busy. Monday I'm talking to I'll go ahead and just say this now. Talking to part of the Beam team. I haven't told anybody about that yet, and they're in Israel. So just talking to people around the world. I'm going to get their take on the privacy, their privacy coin, and what they're doing.
Great. Before we started, you told me that you were talking about the girl from Belgium about what did she say to you regarding like Corona and so on?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I had a friend. I had a talk with a friend last night, just through Facebook Messenger. I told her we were getting ready to do this show today, and she said that in Belgium, they're having the same sort of lockdown and stuff, and she's seen like somebody, rumors that there's like American troops in the streets there, and it's just crazy. And as an American, I just wish the United States would just stay in the United States. Our troops would just stay in America. We had a great presidential candidate for many years. He ran 3 or 4 times, Ron Paul. He was a member of Congress for a long time, and he's an Austrian school guy like Eugene and I. And one of his major things was, I'm looking at the United States debt clock right now, and just as you're talking about money and stuff.
Debt clock, right? How many trillions? Yes, right now owe to the world.
The U.S. national debt right now is 23,585 billion, and
23 trillion.
585 billion.
585 billion.
Yeah,
almost $24 trillion.
Oh yeah, it will be $24 trillion here pretty soon with all the packages that the United States. They're talking about giving out money now to people because of this quarantine, which is another scary thing. But one of the most disturbing facts is debt to GDP, which is 123% right now. So this doesn't.
Once again, what percent of comparing to GDP?
Yeah, U.S. debt to GDP is 123.79%.
123, more than 100. Yeah. So the debt of the United States is more than one annual GDP, correct?
That's right. Yeah, so we're in a really bad situation here where, you and I are big sound money guys, and I think that the people that have been preparing for this for a long time are going to be in the best situation here. I'm not saying that the United States is going to collapse tomorrow, but it is not a very good situation for the U.S. dollar. And I wanted to say one last thing. I don't mean to ramble on, but what we're seeing is the countries of the entire world it's a race to the bottom, and this has been going on for a long time. These currency wars, and China's printing, the Bank of England, everybody's printing money, and like the money can have value if you're just printing money. You have to, there has to be a reason why this money has value, and just printing money.
We are lucky, man. I'm joking, of course, lucky. We are lucky. have been born, and we are living in the world of the worst, I even call this the territorial monopoly on fiat fraud. Every country made by boundaries, any country in the world, the United States or Belarus or Russia or so on, it's the territorial monopoly for fiat fraud, the territorial monopoly for robbery. That's why governments or states, they are counting their citizens, given the passports, for pointing whom to rob or whom not to rob. For example, the Russian state cannot rob American citizens because the United States robs American citizen by taxes. That's the world we live in, and all the central banks, they are all fiat fraudsters. They are all in currency wars, and that's the world we live in. A total war. Right. But do you know what is one of the most popular folk, how to say, people's question in the people's talking realm about United States? Don't yet. I will answer. The main popular question is for foreign economists: when American dollar will collapse? And they think that their own fiat fraudulent money, like for example, like a Russian man asks when your dollar will collapse. He thinks that ruble will not collapse. Ruble has already been collapsed before dollar will have been collapsed. Man, what are you talking about? That's a mess. That's a mess. That's why we insist for our viewers study economics, Austrian economics, because that is the only way to understand how the world, how human against human, how human action works. Real economy.
Yeah, you nailed it there. If I could just say one last thing on this point, is that, this all stems from territorial monopolies on violence. The state has a monopoly on violence, and from that comes their taxation. And it's just that one monopoly, which monopoly on violence, you get taxation, you get central banks. It all stems from one thing. So this is, like you said, you study Austrian economics, and I had to bust this out today. That's the great Murray Rothbard.
Rothbard.
America's Great Depression here. I wanted a little prop in, Ben Bernanke, former chairman of the Federal Reserve, said he was a scholar of the Great Depression. And I like to make the joke he was a scholar of the Great Depression, then he caused his own. So, it's not a funny thing that he caused it. He might be causing his own Great Depression, but in a way it is, since he claims to be such a scholar on the topic, and he did such a terrible job. He's really the one that started this quantitative easing junk that we're in today, and it's just gotten completely out of hand in the last 70 years. Or the last 50 years since the United States left. We're just speaking about the U.S. here. Since 1971, when Richard Nixon took us off the gold standard, we went from the world's largest creditor nation, the wealthiest nation in the world, to today, $23.5 trillion in debt. So, fiat money is just a scam, like you said.
Yeah, I think that the knowledge of Austrian economics is like, I don't know how to say correctly, the saving straw. I don't know exactly. I'm saying correct in English. The saving straw. That the way you can save yourself, save your mind by understanding what's going on really, and not to make all the mistakes. And you studied in real American school. I want to ask you, when you let me ask you correctly. When you first heard about Great Depression, and what did you hear about the Great Depression? What you was told about Great Depression? Was it the Great Depression was a catastrophe, and Franklin Delano Roosevelt saved America, and FDR was good? That's, we know here that that's the way the mainstream, the American, are being taught about Great Depression. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think it's the same playbook around the world. That we go to these public schools, the majority of us, and they've gotten the majority of students to be educated in their schools. And if you're educated by your masters, you're going to get your master's thesis on what they want you to know. So yeah, the American. I actually had to correct somebody about this 2 days ago. That really bothers me when people say that FDR, Franklin Delano Roosevelt. I also hate when people pronounce it Roosevelt because it sounds too nice. It's Roosevelt, like it's the ruse.
How to pronounce correctly? How do Americans say
Roosevelt? There's two O's. You didn't say it, but people in America always say Roosevelt, and it's Roosevelt. And a ruse in America is like a scam. So I like to make sure that
not
Roosevelt. Yeah, so Roosevelt, that's the thesis that he came in and saved the world, and then World War II got us out of the Great Depression. But really, once you, like we always talk about on the show, once you start studying Austrian economics, you find out that actually just the whole thing prolonged the Depression. We're saying, they were taking men, labor, and the means of production, land, labor, and capital, and they were using it to create things that they were going to just blow up and destroy and take men, across the. They didn't make anything that, there was no real production. I mean, we were making things, but we weren't making things to, make us more productive. We were taking these things and blowing them up, and it's just a waste of value, really, for a better term. So yeah, that theory that Roosevelt got us out of the Depression and the World War II, and all the big government stuff was good. It's just a lot of crap, to be honest with you.
Yeah, now the similar, may I say, a similar myth about the history and the past exists in our former Soviet area and former in modern Russia. That's Stalin, Joseph Stalin, the most hardest dictator in Russian history, has saved Russian economy, because if he did not did what he did, Russia Soviet Union would have not won the Second World War. But the history's truth is that the Second World War was caused by the games of Stalin and Hitler. So I want to say that the folk history, the people's history, it's a lie. It is lie, because the history which is being taught in schools, it is not true. The real history, the history is hidden, and only small percentage of clever men, such as Murray Rothbard, for example, they try to uncover real history and to show. They write books, and due to them we are educated, but there are few people who educate. So our podcast is a way to educate others. You showed Rothbard. I do programs here in Russian speaking real. We do even promote books of Russian, also in economics, printed here in Russian language. So we do P2P education due to our due to modern technologies, due to YouTube and internet and so on. That's how education is being conducted. That's the way. That's the way how to educate everybody. P2P. That's the main part. So, man, that's good. Should we need to say in final some good statements we did not say before?
Yeah.
How to finalize?
Sure, I'll get a quick word in. We talk more about history and the economy today than we normally talk about Bitcoin, but it doesn't have to be about one thing. That's the great thing about you and I. We can talk about anything. But
correct.
Yeah. But Bitcoin is, I think, we saw that 50% drop in Bitcoin last week, and everyone was panicking, but not me. I said, these people need a little bit of money. They, to get liquid. That's another stat I wanted to drop today. There's like 40% of Americans only have $400 in their have less than $400 in their checking account. So everybody who was in Bitcoin that didn't have a lot of cash to start with had to get their money out. And I'm sure the same goes for other people around the world. So now what I think is going to happen is more and more people are just going to pile back into Bitcoin here as we get 53 days away from the halving now. I'm super bullish still on Bitcoin in the next 20 months. My target's still 65,000. And, we're going to keep you updated on this every few weeks. Eugene and I do this show, but I just want to throw a little Bitcoin in there at the end. And always a great time to come on with you.
Yeah, great. We have two Bitcoin maximalists in internet who are almost very rarely talk about the Bitcoin price, because our podcast is more educational, not about discussing Bitcoin. Find another G's of internet. Too many G's who are discussing Bitcoin price every video, every day. We are not about that. We're here about education, about mind, about thinking. So thank you very much, man. Mr. Bryer from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, United States, and me, Eugene, CryptoEmcee from Belarus, Europe. Stay tuned. Stay transatlantic crypto podcasts and be clever. Study Austrian economics. Stay tuned. See you later.